All right, today we're going to tackle a question that, let's be honest, causes a ton of anxiety for millions of us. How much is my healthcare actually going to cost? We're going to dive into how AI is starting to give us real answers, turning what feels like a wild guess into a clear, predictable number.
I mean, think about it. For most of us, trying to figure out what we'll pay for healthcare feels like a total shot in the dark. It's one of the biggest sources of financial stress for families everywhere. But what if it didn't have to be that way?
For as long as I can remember, planning for medical costs has been this ridiculous guessing game. You've got your policy, sure, but trying to figure out the final bill after navigating a maze of deductibles, copays, and all those hidden fees, it can feel like a total financial nightmare.
And that uncertainty, it creates some very real anxiety. You're trying to budget for your family, for your future, but this massive, unpredictable expense is always just looming. It makes any kind of sound financial planning so incredibly difficult. And this is the exact problem that new technology is starting to solve.
Okay, let's get into the solution, the cool part. Imagine having a tool like a crystal ball that could just look at your personal health profile and spit out a clear, data-driven estimate of your future insurance costs. Well, that's not science fiction anymore. It's the reality of tools like the Medicost Predictor.
So what is this thing, really? Well, the Medicost Predictor is a pretty sophisticated web app that uses machine learning to do one thing and do it really, really well. Estimate what your medical insurance is probably going to cost. It's all about bringing some much-needed clarity to a super confusing industry.
And this, right here, perfectly sums up why it's so valuable. Instead of you having to wade through dense policy documents or just wait for that surprise bill in the mail, you get an instant estimate. An estimate based on actual real-world data. It's all about replacing guesswork with information. So how does it actually work? What's going on under the hood to make these predictions happen? It's not magic, not at all. It's a very specific, data-driven process. So let's break it down.
The AI doesn't need your entire life story, which is kind of nice. It focuses on just 6 key factors that have the biggest impact on healthcare costs: your age, your gender, your BMI, how many kids you have, whether you smoke, and where you live. Just by analyzing these inputs, the system can start to paint a really clear picture of your potential costs.
Now, what's really cool here is how simple the process is when you look at it from a high level. First, the AI just studies a big data set, in this case over 1,300 real insurance records, so it can learn. Second, a whole team of different algorithms are trained to find the hidden patterns in that data. And finally, when you punch in your info, it applies those patterns it learned to give you a personalized prediction. Simple as that.
Now, here's the crucial part. The system doesn't just rely on one algorithm to make its prediction. That would be way too risky. Instead, it uses what's called an ensemble approach, which is kind of like getting a second, third, and fourth opinion all at the same time.
Oh, I love this analogy. Using a single AI model is like asking one doctor for their opinion. It's good, sure, but it's a limited perspective. An ensemble model, though, that's like getting a diagnosis from a whole panel of specialists. They each look at the problem a little differently, and when you combine all their insights, you get a much more reliable, much more accurate final answer.
Okay, so we've got this panel of AI experts making a prediction. But how good are they really? Let's get to the results and see how this thing actually performs.
And there's the number. The best model in the group hit a prediction accuracy of almost 88%. Now, to put that in perspective for you, in the world of predictive modeling, that is incredibly good. It means the model can explain almost 88% of why insurance costs change, using just those 6 personal factors we talked about.
And right here, you can see the top performers on that panel of experts. A model called gradient boosting came out on top, but other models like random forest and XGBoost were also super effective. Just think of these as different specialists, each with their own unique way of looking at the data. This multi-model approach is what makes the system so robust and able to deliver the most accurate prediction possible.
But look, accuracy is only half the battle, right? If the person using it can't understand the results, it doesn't matter how precise they are. And that's why the tool is also designed to be incredibly user-friendly, turning all that complex data into visuals that actually make sense.
For instance, it doesn't just give you a dollar amount. It also runs those numbers through a risk assessment engine, which sorts your estimated costs into these clear buckets: low, moderate, or high risk. This gives you immediate context for what that number actually means for your financial planning.
So, what does having access to this kind of accurate, easy-to-understand prediction actually mean? For you, for your family, or even for whole industries?
Well, for an individual, the benefits are immediate. You can finally budget with confidence. You can compare different insurance policies and see which one really makes the most sense for your specific profile. And maybe most importantly, you can see a direct financial line between lifestyle choices like smoking and your costs. It just empowers you to make smarter decisions.
But the impact doesn't stop with you and me. Insurance companies can use this for way quicker premium estimates. Financial advisors can bake it into their clients' long-term plans. And researchers? They can use it to get a better handle on the economics of healthcare. It's a foundational tool that can be used in so many different ways.
Ultimately, this is the big transformation we're talking about here. Technology like this takes what has always been a black box of confusing numbers and turns it into a clear, predictable part of your financial future. It's a fundamental shift from uncertainty to empowerment. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating final thought. We've seen that AI can predict our costs with incredible accuracy. So the next logical question has to be, can that same technology be used not just to tell us what we'll spend, but to actively help us find ways to lower those costs? That's a question for the future, for sure, but it's a future that feels a whole lot closer than ever before. Thanks for digging into this with me.